From the moment a user comes to our site till the time they make a booking, how can we personalize and improve their overall user experience? So starting from recommending destinations, hotels, to sort of guiding them uh, through their booking journey. Uh, and I mean, we have done a lot of work there, but there's a lot more that we can do, especially with large language models. There is scope to sort of create personalized agents for every single person.
Welcome to Travel Buddy, presented by Switchfly. In this podcast, we talk about all things travel, rewards, and loyalty. Let's get to it. Hello, and welcome back to another episode of Travel Buddy, presented by Switchfly. Today, we have Ian Andersen on the call, as usual. Welcome back, Ian. But we also have a new guest, Ravneet Ghuman, who is the head of data science and machine learning for Switchfly. And he's going to talk to us a lot about how AI and machine learning is used in the travel and loyalty space. And so I'm so excited to dive into that because it's so important and such a hot topic. So first, Ravneet, first of all, welcome to the show. But second of all, tell us a little bit about your background. How did you get into data science and machine learning? What's your did you go to school for this? And then kind of how did you get into it with Switchfly and what are you guys working on there? That's kind of how I want to structure a little bit of this call at the beginning. So I'll let you go from there.
Sure. First of all, Brandon, thanks for having me. I've been in this industry for about 17, 18 years now. I started my career as a data engineer right out of college or engineering program. And I worked in data engineering for almost 8 years. And then having been on the data engineering side, I decided to change gears or change careers and switch to data science, wherein I pursued a master's from UC Berkeley and switched careers. And for almost last 8 or 9 years, I have been in data science, machine learning space. Uh, I I joined Switchfly a couple of years back, and I think travel is a personal passion of mine. So getting to work in a travel industry and apply AI or data science, machine learning to data related to travel, that really excites me and motivates me uh, to create some interesting or solve interesting problems.
Very
So
cool.
I've known Ravneet for a couple years now. Something that is immediately apparent when you meet him is, wow, this person's way smarter than I am. Like he's just one of those people you meet that's, he's talking way up here. For us lay people, Ravneet, what is can you kind of explain the differences between data engineering and data science? Like what do they entail and how do you apply them?
Sure. Ian is just being very humble. I enjoy our conversations with you. Uh, I think I see data engineering as sort of the plumbing needed to get water flowing from different pipes to where it needs to go. And being on the other side, data science is more about uh, using that water to create something like a cooking dish uh, or sprinkling it into grass to grow something or a lawn to grow grass, something of that sort. Uh, Data science is a more generic term that encompasses AI as one of the tools that data scientists can use to solve problems. And uh, and it's about predicting, forecasting, drawing inferences from data. That's how I see the two sides, even though different, but they play very well together. And actually, they need to work together to solve problems.
So I think, when most of us think about AI these days, it still feels really new, right? The chat GPTs and copilots and all that stuff still feels really new. But I mean, the while the systems may not be particularly old, the kind of science behind it goes back quite a ways, right, Ravneet?
That is right. In fact, I mean, the whole AI wave probably started way more than 50 years back with uh, there'd been a couple of AI winters wherein people had a lot of excitement about AI. A lot of money was poured in the 60s, 70s, 80s, and then followed by winters where people thought this is not happening. And what's exciting and interesting now is since the big data revolution started, a lot of data has become available. At the same time, compute has become cheaper and faster. So now we have these old algorithms. Of course, there have been advancement in those algorithms, but we had these old algorithms uh, dating back decades, new data, lots of compute, and that was sort of a stepping stone in sparking this AI interest over the last 10, 15 years. And there have been some advancements in algorithms. I mean, what ChatGPT is based on is, or type models are based on, is called transformers. It's a neural network architecture, and there was a paper written back like 5 or 7 years back. That is what has led to ChatGPT. So even if I look at ChatGPT, it seems like it happened 2 years back, but the way industry has been progressing last 15 years, that seems like a very exciting and a natural progression, the way things have happened uh, over the last
So
10 years.
it's really the technology is catching up with the theory, kind of. Is that?
I think that's a great way to put it. I think right now the buzzword is gen AI or generative AI, but uh, uh, I think people use it synonymous to AI now and also to ChatGPT type models. But generative models essentially mean that you have figured out what the data distribution looks like, and you can randomly sample data from there, from that distribution, or how the data exists, and you can start using that to make some intelligent predictions. So there have been generative models before. I personally think what made LLMs or ChatGPT type models exciting is the previous generative models predicted numbers, so it was harder to sort of make sense of it. But text is very intuitive and you can understand. So now when you transform those numbers to text, it makes things look exciting, like a poetry written by a model versus a random set of numbers generated that don't have any meaning to a person.
And then, so kind of on that, where does machine learning come in? What is that? How does that kind of dovetail into the AI craze?
Uh, So AI is sort of a higher level term that means a system that is intelligent enough to react, reason, respond, uh, adapt. But machine learning is sort of a branch within AI that's more about learning patterns. It's more about pattern detection. Uh, so the idea being, given you have enough data about uh, certain events that happen, you can apply some math and statistics to it and extract those patterns so you can start predicting future events that have not happened yet. Uh, Deep learning is sort of another niche that goes within machine learning, and that's more about applying neural networks or brain inspired architectures that can help solve more complex problems like language or images. And transformers, what I mentioned earlier, is a type of a deep uh, learning or neural network architecture. Uh, Deep learning networks are very resource intensive, both in terms of the data they need and the amount of data, as well as the compute. I mean, if you talk about a model like uh, ChatGPT, it has probably been trained on, I don't know, all the websites in the world, the Internet Archive and whatnot. So, uh, in compressed format, maybe gigabytes of text data, and probably the amount of compute needed to train such a model is electricity needed by a small town. That's how much power it needs. So deep learning networks are very resource heavy, but that's an advancement of machine learning.
Wow, it shows how connected um, our computing and our data science is with like other technology. I'd never thought about it being so resource, demanding that now our power grids involved and transportation and and all that stuff, how it's all kind of interwoven.
It's interesting you make that comment. I heard someone else make a similar comment too, in that when people think of AI, they don't immediately relate to all the other things that need to happen to make it
Right.
work. It's just the technology. No, it's not just the tech, but getting all the data. The moment you talk about data, then you need to figure out privacy. And I mean, there was a controversy around a company using somebody else's data to train a model. So then those things come into play. You need power. So where do you set up your set up your data center, or how do you train your models? You need chips or GPUs or specialized chips to train models. So is there enough supply for that? So I think maybe I'm not describing or covering even all the
Sure.
things or even half, but so many things play into it.
Yeah, I bet. I think the very first time I remember hearing the term machine learning was these guys trained a computer to play Super Mario Brothers, and it would Mario would run and then run into the Goomba, and then the next time he'd run and then jump right then, but then fall into the pit, and then and it just learned it over time. That was pretty incredible.
Mm.
Have you guys seen the movie around Google Go, or how Google beat one of the masters in Go, game of Go
No,
in Korea?
I've heard a lot about it, but I haven't seen it.
Yeah, same.
I think it's pretty amazing to watch. Of course, there might be some dramatized components, but it shows how, I mean, basically the idea there is, in a game of chess, it's a 8 by 8 square. So there are a lot of moves possible at every instance, but still limited. But Go being a much larger board, it just creates a lot of possibilities that it's difficult for any machine to handle. So the way they created the algorithm and make it work, that was an incredible feat. Something that seemed impossible a decade back, and they ended up beating, or that game ended up beating one of uh, the grandmasters of that
Wow.
game.
That's and
I think
oh, go ahead, Brendan. Go ahead.
I was just gonna say that I think it's so amazing that you said like that didn't seem possible just a decade ago. Like a decade is
Yeah.
not that long ago. Like a decade is like I was in grad school, but like Twitter was just becoming popular a decade ago, and it's like, and now we're creating all these tools that were, to your point, like it's impacting the grid. I mean, we're thinking about how can I create a mini nuclear reactor for, to power a data center, it's like, how did we get here in just 10 years? It's amazing. Yeah, it's just amazing.
Yep, you're right. Like how the progress keeps compressing, or the timeline keeps compressing. I, I mean, I remember 10, 15 years when people used to talk about natural language processing or any text-based AI. People used to create features that had like, let's extract these words, or let's do something, create rules. But now you have these new models. You don't need to create those units of features. You can have an architecture do that for you. Like that progress is incredible.
Incredible. Yeah.
And that is wild. So where do you see kind of what do you see as the future of AI, both kind of in the next couple of years, short, medium term, and then what does kind of the long term future of this look like?
I, I think, generally speaking, I think more and more integrated into our daily lives. I mean, right now, uh, we don't have AI in certain places, and when it is introduced, we see it as cool and amazing. But maybe fast forward 3 years, 5 years, we wouldn't even or think twice that we are using AI. So I think intelligent assistants helping us with our day-to-day life, navigating things we do every day. Uh, I think that would be just way more integrated uh, in a few years. I think, of course, there are those bigger and more tougher problems like autonomous driving, uh, having a humanoid robot. I think uh, we just have to wait and watch how that unfolds over the next few years.
That's really fascinating. I think think like 30 years ago when they're just kind of starting to stick computer chips and things to help like cars to help with diagnostics and things like that, and now we don't even think about your car having a computer chip. Of course it does, right? And yeah, I wonder if and this is just kind of the next evolution of that, right? Is now it'll be even more capable than it was before.
I agree.
Exactly. Everything has a
Yeah.
chip now, almost, or intelligent devices. And I mean, there are pros and cons. I mean, one pro definitely is earlier car manufacturers needed to install certain hardware to enable some features. But now cars are so software and chip driven, new features can be rolled out like how companies roll out features on our
Like
cell
a
phones.
computer update, basically. Yeah.
Exact. Yep. Yep. That to me is fascinating. Like something that was not possible even 7 years back.
Wow. And so we were talking before we got on. We all have kids, very young. Mine are a little older than your guys' kids, but even so, that for someone like me, I'm a elder millennial, right? I'm right at the 40 year mark, and so I mean, I have clear memories of not having the internet, but for my adult life, I've always had it. Uh, but our kids coming up in this AI world, I mean, just looking at my kids with technology, it just comes so intuitively to them, it seems. I wonder, how AI is gonna be so much more involved in their lives than we can even begin to imagine.
Hmm. I've resolved that I won't be able to help my daughter figure out what to do in school or for
Yeah.
a job or whatever, because there's no way to know at this point. I have no idea right now. But I do think I'm a big humanities buff, as Ian, you're a history buff. But there's some things in human nature or history or whatever that will never change, and I want to home in on those school wise. But as far as a job and like technical careers and whatever, I have no idea.
Right. Yeah, I mean they're
I mean,
teaching basic coding, at my kid's school, and I think that's because it's not going to be a nice to have like it was for people my age. It's going to be
Mhm.
mandatory, right? Yeah.
there's so many job profiles that didn't exist a while back. Influencers. I mean, who would have thought 15 years back that would be a new job profile? So I think we're still early in the AI game. It's hard to foresee how things may change so quickly in the next 5-10 years. Uh, Most of the larger companies are working towards AGI or artificial general intelligence. And I mean, if there's a breakthrough in that space, which most experts predict, in the next 5 to 10 years, we would see some form of AGI. I mean, the world beyond that, I can't even imagine what it would look like.
Yeah, that's wild. So as Brandon mentioned, I'm a big history geek. I got a master's in it, and I think about the internal combustion engine a lot of in just a couple of decades, like a really short time, we went from having a train, which was incredible and impressive and cutting edge technology, but then all of a sudden we can get rid of horses and they could fly and they could do things that they'd never thought possible, all because of kind of one technological change. And I wonder if this is going to be something like that of we have no idea. Maybe people like Ravneet have some idea, but people like me have no idea where it's going and what's coming. That's awesome. So kind of to bring it back around, Ravneet, so we talked about travel a little bit at the beginning. We're all passionate travelers, and at Switchfly, that's our whole business. How are you using AI and machine learning at Switchfly? What kind of things are you working on?
I think I like to see applications in two groups, like front of the house and back of the house. So we have use cases back of the house that support operations, like consolidating hotel data from various suppliers using AI to help with some of those problems, or looking at customer experience or how our service representatives are doing. So there are some use cases back of the house, and there are some use cases front of the house, like from the moment a user comes to our site till the time they make a booking, how can we personalize and improve their overall user experience? So starting from recommending destinations, hotels, to sort of guiding them uh, through their booking journey. And I mean, we have done a lot of work there, but there's a lot more that we can do, especially with large language models. There is scope to sort of create personalized agents for every single person. Uh, so a lot more to come, but there's some work that's already been done in that space.
Something that comes up a lot whenever you talk about data and personalization, it comes up in the media, it comes up in legislature, is privacy. How is that kind of factored in? You have at any time, I'm a marketer, I know just how much information I can gather on particular people based on, buying habits and demographic information and things like that. Where does privacy fit in? How are people kind of being protected against having data stolen and having too much known?
I think I think privacy is super important, and from AI point of view, uh, I think first of all, it's important for a business to disclose what data would be collected on an individual, follow through some of the GDPR, CCPA regulations, like whatever the policymakers uh, have created, and those are pretty exhaustive and great uh, sort of parameters that have been created in terms of what companies can store, what cannot companies store, sort of life cycle of data. But I think still there is a lot more that can be done in terms of disclosing, first of all, disclosing what a company can or cannot do. And then once that data is available, making sure there's enough governance within the company to not misuse that data. And I think a big part of that is transparency. So also when AI plays a role in making a recommendation, it's important to disclose to the user how that AI made that recommendation. So not just saying, we think you should go to Vegas, but why? Based on your history, we have seen, let's say you have checked out Vegas so many times or done so many searches, you have clicked on these hotels, there are new deals. We would, we would recommend Vegas. So having some sort of explanation that sort of actually, I think an explanation builds not a lot of trust and credibility for the company. And there was a time when companies didn't have explainability and then AI models, but in the last few years, I think that has really gone further, and more companies are investing in XAI and explaining to the users why something was recommended.
So what is XAI? Can you expand on that a little bit?
XAI has become a new, or it's a new term, explainable AI. Uh, Especially when we talk about deep learning models, it's like millions or billions or trillions of parameters or numbers. It's hard to know why model made a certain recommendation. Like even if we talk about a model like ChatGPT, it's I don't think anyone can explain why it recommended something that it did. So there is this whole field that is evolving, and a lot more work to be done. But that field is basically evolving to sort of answer some of those questions, why something was recommended. And as algorithms are becoming more complex, XAI or explainable AI also needs to grow to sort of kind of catch up with the complexity of algorithms. But the basic idea is to explain why something was predicted or recommended.
Wow, it's fascinating. I mean, it's so many. It's a Pandora's box, right? Like you open up this kind of AI thing, and it just 90 other things kind of jump out that you got to do to catch up with it. That's it's pretty incredible. Whew.
I agree. I love the idea of, for travel, finding things exactly like according to my preferences. But some things I don't want that. Like I don't want the same Spotify playlist over and over again, you know? So I'm excited to like see how it can explore more of my like taste, but also give me a little bit of excitement and adventure in my travel selections. Well, Ravneet, I'm so glad that you were able to join us on this episode and share so much of your wisdom. Ian, I understand what you're saying now. It's like talking to Ravneet. It's like, phew, right
Yeah.
over my head.
Yeah.
And I feel really dumb.
Told you.
But thank you so much for so much of your expertise and helping us understand AI a little bit better. I know it's been such a huge topic over the last few years, but now people are starting to get a sense of what it can and can't do and also explore a little bit of the possibilities. And so I'm so thankful for your work and travel to be able to provide this kind of possibilities for us. So thank you for joining the show. Ian, thank you as always.
Thank you, Brandon.
I'm excited to talk to you guys again.
Awesome. Thanks,
Of course.
Ravneet. Yeah,
Thank
we
you for
definitely
having me.
want to get you back on multiple times to
Amen.
keep us up to breast on what's going on in the AI world.
Amen. Amen.
For sure. So, thanks for keeping it engaging.
Yeah. Awesome.
Thank
Thanks,
you.
guys.
All right. We'll see y'all.